Queens, Sam here. I hope that you're doing amazing. In my video today, I wanted to talk about how you could optimize the utilization of your registered accounts for those living here in Canada, in a optimal way, I guess. So I'm always looking for ways to actually optimize the way I actually do my finances, and I thought that I will bring some suggestions to you if you want to consider, because at the end of the day we can get really confused, like when we look at all of the various registered accounts that are available to us. Some of them help us save on tax, some of them not, some of them are like to buy a house, others are like for retirement, some of them are like for education for our kids. It can get a lot, it can get overwhelming. And so before I dive into it, I just want to go over, I guess, like a definition for those that I'll be talking about here. And I'll be using the acronym, so I will define them here and at the beginning, and then after I'll just use the acronym. But feel free to, if you, rewind and just go back to the beginning if you're looking for the definition, or you can also leverage any search engine on internet to actually look for that. So the first one is the Registered Retirement Savings Plan, that we call RRSP. The second one is the tax-free savings account that we call TFSA. The third one is the first home saving account, which is known as the FHSA, which is the most recent one that we have gotten here. The fourth one is the RESP, which is the Registered Education Savings Plan. And then the other one is the CCB, which is the Canada Child Benefit. And we also have the RIF, RRIF, RIF. So that's the Registered Retirement Income Fund, or the LEAF, I guess, which is the locked in fund also for retirement. And I think that's about it. Those are kind of like the one. Oh no, one more. So the Canada Education Savings Grant, SESG. So that one is linked to the RESP. So let me dive into it. Let me. I know I've kind of like pretty much like your head right now of all acronyms, but you will understand it better. And again, this is not in any way, shape, or form me telling you how you should be coordinating those accounts, but it's just to give you a suggestion that you may want to consider. But at the end of the day, sit and look at which one that you're using right now, that you're contributing to, that you may have in the future, and how you can actually align your finances so you're making the best use out of them. I'll start with the RSP. So the RSP is the Registered Retirement Savings Plan. And so when you contribute into your RSP, you get a tax deduction. So a tax, I guess, tax deduction, yeah, or tax credit, sorry, a tax credit based on how much you have contributed. And essentially that money will grow tax deferred. So that means that until you hit retirement, all of the growth that you'll have in that account will not be taxed. And then when you start withdrawing money at your retirement, that's when you will get taxed. So the idea behind the RSP is that probably for most of us, our tax, how much we pay for taxes, I guess the average tax we pay in our retirement will be lower than the percentage of tax that we actually pay during our time working. So that may or may not be true for everyone, but most of the time people will tend to have a lower income in retirement than when they're actually working. So when you actually contribute to your RSP, when you so let's say you contribute to your RSP in 2024, then when you do your taxes in 2025, the government will consider how much you have put into your RSP. They will take that and reduce your income and then give you the tax that is actually linked to that particular amount. So let's say you contributed $10,000 of RSP in 2024, and that you are at, I'm gonna say just something wild, so then we can do easy calculation, but let's say you are like 40% of in the tax break for 40%. So if you had contributed $10,000, the government will say, well, that $10,000 will be reduced from your income. So instead of and you paying, let's say, I don't know, $20,000 in taxes, we're going to be deducting $4,000. So the $4,000 will be 40% of the $10,000 that you have put in your RSP. So in 2025, when you file for your income tax, the government will refund you $4,000, because they would have taken that money as taxes, because most of the time when we contribute to your RSP, it is separate from our income, and it's only when we do our taxes that we let the government know, by the way, I contributed to my RSP, so how much you took from me in taxes should be reduced based on how much I actually contributed into my RSP. So let's say you get that $4,000 back, and this is the beauty of it, right? So you get that $4,000 back. Most people will take that money and spend it, travel, buy whatever. But I say most people, not you, not you, because you can take that money and stretch that money. So here are a few suggestions, right? So you take that refund that you have from your RSP, you could put it back into your RSP again for that year. That's already $4,000 in your RSP for that year that you don't have to bring by yourself from your income that year. You can put in your tax-free savings account, so the TFSA, which we're going to be talking about a bit later. But if you put that in your tax-free savings account, you need to that's 4,000 will go in your tax-free savings account, and the growth in the tax-free savings account is like it's not taxed. So that 4,000 will not be taxed ever, right? So you take that money, you put it in your tax-free savings account, and that money will continue growing for you. You can also take that $4,000 and put it in your first home savings account, the FHSA. That's just a strategy, right? So now that's for the RSP. The TFSA. So the TFSA, you need to know that essentially you'll be taxed upfront, but then you don't get to pay any taxes after. So if you put $10,000 in your TFSA, most likely that $10,000 was after tax. And so the government need to know how much you put in tax savings account, because you have a certain limit to respect. And everybody has a different contribution room, but you're not taxed essentially on the growth in that account. So again, the RSP, you're not taxed upfront, so you do not pay any taxes when you put the money in the RSP, but then you pay the taxes when you start withdrawing money from that account. The TFSA, you get taxed before you put the money in the account. However, the growth in that account is not taxed after that. So again, those two accounts have their benefits and advantages and disadvantages, but you need to know how they operate, so then you can actually make the best use of them. Now the FHSA, which is the new one, which is for first home buyers, essentially that one is a beauty, right? Because it has the benefits of the RSP and the benefits of the TFSA. However, it's only for people who have never owned a house, or people who haven't owned a house, past a certain number of years. I think it's 5 years or something like that. Don't quote me on that. But very good for people who haven't bought a house yet. So that doesn't apply to me. However, the FHSA, it has the beauty of the RSP in the sense that when you put that money in the FHSA, you don't pay any taxes on it. So that 10,000 that you will put in your FHSA, you will also get, the $4,000 tax refunded back to you. And at the same time, that $10,000 the growth of that $10,000 will not be taxed later on, which is the beauty of the FHSA. And the idea behind it is because they want to give you the opportunity to have a larger down payment. We all know how much housing is costing these days, whether it is in Canada or in the US or like any developed world. Housing has become ridiculous, and a lot of young people are struggling to be able to buy their first house. So that's why the government came out with this particular account. But it is amazing. And I think also that even if you end up not buying a house later on, you can transfer that FHSA into your RSP as long as you have a contribution room. I don't think you can transfer in your TFSA. I think you can only transfer it in your RSP. Anyway, something to look into, but again, there's another way to optimize, how you're going to be using those accounts. The next one is the Canada Child Benefit. So of course that only applies if you have young kids and you're getting the benefit from the government. But when you get that benefit, listen, instead of you trying to figure out where you're gonna get the money to invest in your kids' education, the reality is like you're getting that benefit from the government, yes, to help you cover the expenses related to having kids, but this is extra money that really you could leverage and put into your the RESP for your kids, so the Registered Education Saving Plan for your kids, because by doing so, So if you put at least $2,500 into your child RESP each year, the government will give you a grant that they call the Canada Education Saving Grant of $500 each year to a maximum of 7,200 over how many years that you'll be putting that 2,500, and you can contribute a maximum of $50,000 in total in your kids RESP, and that is actually to put money aside for their education later. Now if the child ends up not going to school or whatnot, there are other ways for you to get your money back. However, you may be losing on the grant if the child doesn't go. But listen, first of all, it's free money. That CESG is free money. It's $500 per child that you can get easily when you put $2,500 in your RESP. And instead of trying to find $2,500 in your budget to contribute to your kids' RESP, why don't you leverage the Canada Child Benefit that you will be getting, assuming that you're getting one, assuming that you're getting enough. Even if you're not getting enough, you're probably getting a portion, but so then you don't need to add more to it, but literally dedicate that benefit directly to your kids' education. That's what I do. That's what I do. Full disclosure. Literally, when I get the Canada Child benefit, I transfer, how much I need each month to have, a minimum of $2,500 each year for the kids. So I have three kids, so that's $7,500 that I need to contribute. So then I can get the $1,500, $500 per kid grant from the government each year, up to the maximum of 7,200 for each kid. So my goal for the next years for each of my kids is to put $2,500 into the RESP, and anytime I have any additional money, being able to put extra, because I really want to also contribute that maximum of 50,000 per kid, because I don't know how much education is gonna be, whenever they're actually ready to go to school, and I want to make sure that they might not cover the entire education cost, but it will help for a good chunk of it. So that is, how you can optimize your CCB and contributing to your RESP and get your CESG. So, gotta think about it. The other thing that I want to touch on was the reef or the leaf. So the reef and the leaf, those are like retirement income fund. So retirement income fund or locked in fund, and essentially when you turn anytime you can really convert your RSP into a reef, and if you have a lira, then you convert the lira into a leaf before you start withdrawing money. Yes, you can withdraw money from your RSP before even converting to a RIF, but there is also tax related to that. It's another thing. I think it's ideally you want to convert the RSP into a RIF before you start withdrawing from it. But here's the thing: the LEAF and the RIF here in Canada, they come with some restriction from the government. Like the LEAF has some maximum that you can withdraw each month. The RIF has some minimum that you can withdraw, not each month, but like each year. And so you need to keep that in mind and see essentially how you're going to be combining the income that you're getting from those retirement accounts for it to make sense. And at times, you may want to withdraw the maximum from your leaf, even if you don't need it, and then take that money and put in your tax-free savings account, because the money in that tax-free savings account is going to be growing tax-free. And essentially, that could be having more cash flow down the road, leaving a bigger estate to your heirs. So you don't really have to spend it. If you need it, so spend it, but you may not need it. But do not take the maximum from the leaf, because just like having that restriction that you can only take a maximum, it to me I find it really restrictive. That's just what it is. So take it and then put it into maybe another account that is tax friendly, like the TFSA, or maybe invest it somewhere in a non-registered if you want, but at least you just have a better control of it. And so again, in a nutshell, I know it's a lot, especially I don't know. I have a lot of people watching from the US, and you guys that might maybe you're not even here by now in this video, but I really wanted to take the time for my fellow Canadians out there who gets so bombarded with all of those different accounts, and you try to navigate all that, especially if you don't have a financial advisor that you're working with, and you're trying to figure out things on your own. But even if you have a financial advisor that you're working with, you still need to understand the basic the basic features of those accounts so you can have an informed discussion with your financial advisor. And so, again, just a reminder, I'm not a financial advisor or financial planner or anything like that. I'm just a woman who loves to talk about money, who's really into financial planning these days. And I really want to make sure to share that those learning with you to help you prepare better for your retirement and build wealth. And of course, like I say, everything starts with investing. And on that front, as I've said, you have RRSP, TFSA, and FHSA, and even the RESP. One thing that is common between those four acronyms, very common, is the letter S, and that S stands for savings, which to me is wrong. Because what's happening a lot of time is people putting money in their TFSA but in a savings account and not investing that money. And that also happened for people in the RRSP, people who has the kids RESP, or people who put money in the FHSA. And so hear me out. Hear me out. Forget about that letter S for savings and replace it by I for investing, because all of those accounts, those four accounts, are for long-term investing. And for you to be able to grow your money in a meaningful way, you need to invest that money. Don't leave it in a savings account which is going to give you 1 or 2% and not even beat inflation. You need to actually take that money and invest it. So it's two steps. You put the money in the account and then you invest the money. Don't just put the money in the account and just leave it there. Your bank person is not going to call you and tell you to invest it. Your brokerage accounts are not going to call you and tell you to invest it. You need to do that on your own. And so many times with my clients, while I was going through their finances, I realized they have like tens of $1,000 sitting in their TFSA in a savings account for years. What? That's Can you imagine how much growth you have given up? And honestly, you think that you're doing the right thing and you're doing a good thing, which is essentially putting money aside for the long-term growth. However, you're putting it in a savings account because the thing talks it's savings, right? So I'm not sure exactly why they came out with like that with that word savings, and you can see it in so many of those registered accounts. But at the same time, I'm thinking if they had used investing, that could have actually, I don't know, kind of like scare people away, because we know that people are more comfortable with savings than investing. That's just the way it is. People tend to talk quickly about investing more about savings than like investing. So they at least want to make sure that people put money in it. So I'll say, yeah, definitely, I'd rather see someone putting their money into those accounts than not putting their money at all, because they're like, I don't want to do any investing, so I'm not putting my money in it. However, the word savings to me for this account is misleading, because technically you don't want to put your money in your RSP and collect it within 2 to 3 years. That's something that eventually you're going to be collecting in 10, 15, 20 years, 30 years. So that's like long-term growth. You need to invest that money. So if you watch this and you're still confused, you're like, I'm not sure what she's talking about. I know a little bit about all of those accounts. I have some of those accounts. I'm still not sure that I'm actually optimizing them in the right way. Book some time with me. Let's have a chat. Let's just make sure that you set up properly in a way that you can really, optimize your refund and make sure that it gets put into something that is really serving you for the long term, you and your loved ones. So like I say, I really have a lot of enjoyment doing this. I would love to help you, get there. So feel free to connect with me. If you have enjoyed this video, make sure to like, to subscribe, also share with anyone that you think might actually benefit from this. Let me know in the comments how this is landing with you. How many of these accounts do you have? I've gone through quite a few here. I'm not sure if I've covered all of them, but I think I've covered the majority of them. But let me know how many of those accounts you have and how comfortable are you with them in the way you use them right now. There you have it. So thank you again for listening. I think this turned out to be a longer video than I want, but as you can tell, you cannot keep me quiet when we start talking about optimizing finances. And so but I hope that you enjoyed it, and looking forward to the next video, because I have so many content that I want to share with you. Yeah, so until next time, keep on building wealth. Bye.